بحال نهار ثاني انا بعد سوليت ما عمرك بغيتي ديرها ما عرفتش علاش صراحه طاحت لك في البال صعيبه البدايه شي نهار غادي تقول راه نجرب ولا ما تخرج فيا عينك ايوا صافي ما ديري علاش الضحكه هادي زعما المرة اقسم بالله الا تصاور الا تصاور شفتي مؤخرا راه عاديين شنو مؤخرا شوف فيلم من فيه تصورتي فين مشاو تبدا عليا مؤخرا هانتي خرجات لك انا راه قلت حنان ما قلتش نتصور زكي معايا
heures là-dessus. D'autres gars. La position. Ça pourrait faire l'affaire. Le gars d'esprit. Moi, quand je suis à l'heure. J'ai appris parce que dans l'année, j'avais s'inscrire pas de jouer. Ben, pas s'inscrire. À avoir des bonnes journées. Pas ça, comme ça. De place, des sacs après le rodéo. Mais pas de place dans ça. Je vais partir avec en là, tout le monde dit ouais, mais le sang là-bas, ça prend nos véhicules, des fourrés. Tout ceux-là qui avaient des Winnebago, qui ont tous vendu des carreurs parce que tu tombes là-bas, t'es fourré.
Quand t'as envie d'aller à quelque part, parce que dans bien des villes, les Winnebago, pas de la place maintenant, des fois, ça. Non, c'est.
Marché, mais il était pas.
Tu vois, là, je mets un rebord dans les deux. J'en ai un dans le plancher. Là, j'en mets un parce que je dis que ça sort d'un peu. C'est pas confortable un peu. Maintenant, avec la procédure des plexiglas, je vais me préparer pour le Rodeo. C'est ça, je trouve. Il y a des chevaux qui donnent ça.
Pourquoi je changeais mon cheval en Bitten de Saint-Cyr? Daniel Mérien avait un cheval, c'était le cheval. Daniel voulait avoir mon cheval, le petit peu. J'ai failli de le changer gros, hein, pour un cheval qui est à faire, un cheval de rodéo, le rodéo. Mais de bon temps, oui, il est bon, mais tu peux pas pratiquer avec. Il est trop chaud. Le cheval qui est... Tu fais un dos-deux avec, il t'arrête. Il est chaud, c'est un cheval qui est chaud. Il va te donner tes goûts, mais tu peux pas, c'est pas un cheval pour pratiquer. Comme un gros là, que j'ai là. J'étais allé chez Joe Josselin, j'ai groupé 4 tonnes de veau à 2. Puis qu'on a groupé pour loin de 40-50 veaux. Tape! Il est fret. Ça rentre dans la chute. Là, Joe l'a pris. Aïe!
Oh oui, ça va bien ça. On a attrapé très rapidement maintenant, on doit remercier. Oh, On termine avec un 19,8 pour notre ami Francis Castonguay.
Merci, Cowboy. Nous allons poursuivre avec un autre Cowboy qui nous vient du centre du Québec. Cette fois-ci, son nom, Steven Cardinal, maréchal ferrant de Lévis. Excellent Cowboy dans cette discipline. Encore une fois, Guy, un Cowboy que tu conçois pratiquement tous les jours.
On est pratiquement voisins, on habite à quelques kilomètres l'un de l'autre. C'est notre cowboy hier qui a effectué un 14,8.
Storms brewing overhead. It's been on and off rain for the last few days or so in this part of the country. So, made it to the city of Lévis, Quebec, or as it's commonly pronounced in Quebecois French, Lévis, or in certain amounts of rural white Quebecan vernaculars close by to the city's region, Lévis. And I cannot believe that I'm actually here. I can't believe that I'm still alive. And I have more motivation emotionally than ever before in my life. Now, you'll be seeing this portion of the video after a very, very, very long, don't even think I should refer to it as an intro. It's just part of the video of sparse clips I took of my month-long travels, my traveling from Longueuil, Quebec to here. And I'll talk about a bit of it in this video, but I'm gonna save majority of it for other videos I make, specifically a part 2 to tales from my travels so far. But I will address some of it here. But before I do that, I'm gonna just say a few things here, but I'm also gonna find a spot that's a bit more covered than this because it's starting to downpour a bit more. Yep, that should work. So, a few things. One, I have finally posted what I have done of my theories from my scientific proposals online. Now, as of right now, they're only available on one platform, that being Quora. Yes, I couldn't find anywhere else to post them at the time that I did, which was whilst I was in the city of Victoriaville, Quebec. I tried posting to Reddit. It was a fucking nightmare. And oh, did it create a lot of aggressive conscious apathy for me. Ooh. And maybe I'll try posting to somewhere on Reddit again. Maybe I'll try creating my very own subreddit if I can. But for now, I'm going to... Okay, so I posted to Quora. I had to redo the topic tagging. So it's under neuroscience, and my account is a damn slice of cake, same as my YouTube and my Pornhub. So you could find it there, what I have typed out of my theories and my implementations, and see images of my diagrams, new and old, and I highly encourage you to do that. It's, other than any revisions I've made and further typing I've done, which sadly has not been a whole extensive amount since I made my scientific proposal videos, but most of what's in there is what I read in my scientific proposal videos, which as always I encourage you to please go watch. But for now, they're all up on one post on Quora. And after further research, and I wish I had thought of this sooner, but I'm going to be trying to post them as well to other smaller forums, online forums. There was a list I had found of various ones. I'm not going to go through all of them here, but as I do post them to whichever platforms and sites, I will edit the description of this video to listing the ones that they're on. So, just thought I should state that now. I encourage anyone watching to go read the post I made on Quora for their own knowledge, for their own benefit, and to critically analyze it for themselves. So, please do that if you can. And well, that was definitely me, but I don't know what I did. Well, hope I didn't damage it. Damage this part of the playset. Okay. And I lost my train of thought. Hold on a second. Okay, got it. So, if I'm remembering the count correctly, 81, yes, I think, 81 books I will now be trying to write. 81 novellas. Yeah. Shut up. I thought of 2 more ideas for books that I couldn't let go of and felt that I wanted to write. So 2 more to add to the list of my works that I'm going to be trying to hopefully start writing in no specific order whilst being here in Lévis. Or either here in Lévis or in Quebec City, across the river. At the very least, start. And so, 2 more, 1 non-fiction and 1 fiction. So, there's that. Also, to address this, say it now, thank you to anyone who genuinely cares about my content and has subscribed to my 2 channels because of that care. Well, for my YouTube channel here, thank you for 169 subscribers. Thank you so much for that. And for my Pornhub channel, thank you for, last I checked, 103 subscribers as of right now. Again, as always, when I've addressed this, I'm very grateful to all of those of you out there who have subscribed, because you actually enjoy the content and you actually take something away from the content. And those who don't, just for those of you who don't, those of you who try to put time aside to watch the full videos, even if it's not in one day or even in 1 week that you watch a full video on either platform. Thank you for trying, at the very least. So, there's that. And for the next video, just to address this, the next video that I'm going to post to Pornhub, I know that I've gone on about this a lot for my videos for my scientific proposals now, and I know I have uploaded pictures of the diagrams to my Pornhub channel in the photo gallery. But either way, I think this is needed. Considering how much traction my Pornhub channel is getting as of right now, interestingly enough, much more than my YouTube channel here has been. And I'm not saying that in terms of popularity. I'm just making that observation in terms of my care towards it. But I'd like to do the next video. I will be explaining, as I did in my scientific proposal videos, I'll be showcasing my diagrams and explaining them more in depth in the video, as well as an accompaniment to it, doing various sexual acts, all as usual predominantly centered around, well, masturbation, but also talking about some other things in relation to sexology and sexual health in that video. But so that'll be the next one on there. Another thing to address is, oh yes, this, I will address this here, because I feel I need to correct myself on this. In relation to a video I posted when I was living in Montreal, titled Dear YouTube and Pornhub/MindGeek, the destroyers of content creators' livelihoods, where I was riping furious at issues I was having with both platforms. In regards to the community tab here on my community tab for the channel here on YouTube, I was wrong about a certain ability that was removed, that was taken from me, and that being the ability for the public to see the community tab. because I had thought in not just the email that YouTube had sent me, but in a notification that's continuously displayed on as a bar on the community tab of the channel right now for some fucking reason. There's a bar that says the words only visible to you, to regain access to posts on the community tab, verify your channel, which you can't do unless you have over 100,000 subscribers, but regardless, it says that. But so I had thought that meant that the entirety of all the posts I had made on the community tab were only now visible to me, and they were blocked from sight to the public, which royally infuriated me. And on top of that, I lost access to being able to post to the community tab. I can't make posts on there anymore. So I thought that's what it meant. But when I was in the city of Drummondville, Quebec, I got on a phone call with my good buddy, as of right now, dear friend, Nifty Killer, Ryan Sousa, who has been one of the, I will take a minute to say here, one of the greatest friends I've ever had in my life, and I'm happy to still have as a friend, and as a fellow YouTuber that I know, that even though we've never officially done a collab together, just kind of been, I guess, looming in the background of some of our content. Regardless, dearly thankful for them as a person. And but when I was on a phone call with Nifty, he told me, because I explained the situation to him, he told me that, Cam, that the bar means that it's only that this message, the bar message, is only visible to you, not anyone else. And I felt very stupid, and I was like, oh, been harboring 2 months of anger for that. And rightfully so, but in my defense, and even Nifty said this himself, it is pretty poorly worded. It's very poorly worded, just as vaguely threateningly worded as the email I received from YouTube was those 2 months ago. But regardless, we figured out that my posts are still visible to the public. But I was correct about the fact that I still can't post anymore to the tab. So that's still just as infuriating, and even though I'm happy that thankfully all the posts are still visible, I'm still just as angry that I cannot post to it anymore. But either way. So I was wrong about that. Just thought I should correct it. And again, thank you to Nifty Killer. Oh, and little inside joke, Nifty Killer, you better watch this damn video in full. And I'll know you watched this video in full, or at least this part, if either A, you comment on this video, or 2, the next time I speak to you over text or over call, that you bring this up in any form. So you better watch this, asshole. Okay. So, there's that. What else? I guess I'll address this. I'll showcase it further later in the video, but I have some new clothes. I was able to purchase some new fashion attire, both in Drummondville, Quebec and Victoriaville, Quebec. And I also have a new sleeping bag that is much more properly built for the coming winter conditions, how it'll be for a portion of the winter months here in Lévis. So there's that. Oh yes, and also this. This is the last. I guess this is the last announcement I'll make before I get into talking about being here in the city. Finally, more in depth. Since leaving, really starting in the city of St. Hyacinthe, Quebec, when I was staying there for about a week and a half, I've been trying to creolize my language further than the pitiful amount that it is. But I'm trying to get to a point where the accent, the vernacular that I speak, the white vernacular I speak, is creolized between standardized Canadian English and Quebecois French. Now, and so if you've been watching my channel to this point, and since me being in the Canadian province of Quebec, you'll know that my Quebecois French speaking skills very lacking, had been very lacking. But starting when I got to more so St. Hyacinthe, I've been trying, I have at points tried to find online resources for learning the variant of the French language that is Quebecois French. But sadly, online resources are lacking, or at least really more in-depth linguistic courses, free linguistic courses, anything of the sort, it's lacking. And I've tried also, since leaving Gatineau, Quebec, at points I've tried at certain bookstores or just general boutique stores for various items. Focus, thank you. I've tried finding a Quebecois French to Britannic English or standardized white American English or standardized white Canadian English. I've tried finding dictionaries of such so that I could actually communicate better with, and if I don't know a word, look it up immediately on hand, because I don't have data on my cellular plan, so I could only do that in Wi-Fi. I've tried finding Quebecois French to English dictionaries. Haven't been able to find one, sadly. All up in Franco-French. But, so what I decided to do in St. Hyacinthe, and I've been practicing it ever since, is I've actively placed myself into, I've forced myself to start trying to speak the language, more specifically trying to memorize words that I've picked up on here and there, and actively, for the words that have cognitively, in terms of memory recall, stuck semantically, words that have stuck with me, when I'm talking to people, use Quebecois French words that I know, and then use English words in substitute for parts of sentence structure that I don't know. And thankfully, I've been able to get by with that, and well enough, for the most part. I haven't just immediately been saying to most people, je ne sais pas français québécois, c'est pas anglais, to, well, just to tell them that I don't speak Quebecois French. I speak English, or do you speak English by chance? I've actually been speaking in some amount of Creole between standardized Canadian English and Quebecois French, which I'm happy is going well enough. And I'm happy that I've been able to hold a conversation well enough through that creolization. Specifically, I've more so been practicing during when I've been, say, ordering food or drink at a restaurant or a cafe. I've been saying things like bonjour, or now salut, which I just found out means hi. So either bonjour or salut, and un bref, insert brevetist item here, or any sort of menu item, this, for a déjeuner or dîner, and if I want something else, avec, which means with, this or this, oui, which is or, and I've been saying ça va a lot more for just meaning alright or okay. And on top of that, with further trying to practice words I already know, such as we, which has, there's different ways of, depending on someone's vernacular here in Quebec, how you pronounce the French word oui. Now, more so in more metropolitan areas like here in Lévis, or from what I've seen through research in Quebec City, haven't been into Quebec City yet, probably won't be for a while, or in Montreal area, or Gatineau, any of the major city areas, things of the sort, most often people pronounce the word yes, especially those white ethnicity, oui. But for what I've noticed for rural white Quebecian vernacular, for rural Quebecois specifically, it's most often actually there's a different pronunciation for the words oui, merci, and bonjour. So for yes, thanks, and hello, and those being ouais, merci, and bonjour. So it's a bit more of a stopping or don't want to say it, not a drawl, but well, I don't have another word to describe it, but there's a difference in how you pronounce it, from what I've picked up on. So in saying yes, we, in more of the rural areas, people would tend to say why or why, similar to the English word why, as a question. And for merci, it'd be mache. So like ma and she, basically. If you broke it up, instead of bonjour, it's bonjour. So like bonjour. So yeah, I just thought I'd point that out. As well as practicing words like bon view for you're welcome, which is how you say you're welcome in Quebecois French, a difference between Parisian, Franco-French, Quebecois French. From what I've looked up for you're welcome, for at least Franco-French and Belgian French, maybe Swiss French as well, but bon view, it means welcome, but more so like you're welcome here, like, or welcome to this place, which it also means that here for Quebecois French, but it's also used to mean you're welcome. Like someone says, oh, thank you, or merci beaucoup, or marche beaucoup, for thank you, and then you say bon view. So there's a difference. I forget what the Franco-French word for you're welcome is, or words, but so there's that. Okay, so now I'll address what'll be happening for my time being here in Lévis, or creolizing, or my pronunciation, Lévis, or Lévis. And also address something that happened to me in the countryside. So, now that I'm here in Lévis, Quebec, this is where I'll be stopping for the coming winter. I will obviously be trying to explore the city, and I've already done, in the few short days I've been here, literally 3 days, I've done quite a lot of exploring, but I'll be trying to explore the city further, but I am settling in here for the winter. I most likely am not going to, for explorations, I'm most likely not going to get into the neighboring city of Quebec City, the capital of the province, at least until mid to late winter, so into 2024, and I'm definitely not, for living-wise, for moving my gear and myself into Quebec City, I'm not going to get into the municipality until, at the very least, early spring. So that'll have to wait. I said in the last video I made, the last major video that I made, correcting things I was wrong about in Longueuil, that once I got here, maybe I would explore around the city a bit, and then explore into Quebec City a bit, and then upload again. That didn't end up happening because of, well, the time constraints right now for the months ahead. But, well, so yeah, that's what's going to be happening with that. Now, as for me having been here for the past 3 days, well, quite the interesting endeavors I got into. So, I arrived here on October 8th, from being dropped off by the people who picked me up, which I'm extremely thankful for. Which you will have seen clips of. And oh, okay, not just one thing. I'm going to address 2 more things, at least briefly, that happened to me in the countryside. More so. Or whilst traveling up here. But anyway. So, once I got here, I'm in the St. Redemptor district in the western end of Lévis. Once I got here, I went to the main park, a large park area that's a big tourist attraction for the city, and the half of the park that's in this district. The other half is in the district of Charny, more in the central area of the city. And whilst I was moving my gear through here, along the concrete path for bikers and walkers, I saw a snake. It was it was a rather lengthy snake, about maybe a little bit longer than the length of my hand going upward from middle finger to a wrist, and it was girthy, and it was, interestingly enough, the same type of snake, because I didn't know the name of the species of snake that it was, but I recognized its coloration. When I was in Victoriaville, I picked up a small snake that was on the sidewalk when I was in the Arthur Bosca district of the city in its western end, coincidentally enough. But that one was a baby. It was very tiny, and I picked it up to help it get across the road because I didn't want it getting hit. So I helped it cross the road. And I was going to do the same thing with this snake here, because it was in the middle of the path and I didn't want it getting hit by any passing bikers or anyone stomping on it without seeing it. So I tried, because it wasn't moving. It was scared of me, obviously. It had noticed me. I tried going close to it and grabbing it from behind its neck, right behind its head, so that lightly, so it wouldn't be able to swing around and bite me. Well, I didn't get close enough, and I grabbed it a little behind its neck, just under it on its lengthy body, and it swung around and bit me on the index finger. Like, not just like a quick nip, it sank its fangs into my index finger, and I was like, ow, fuck, because it hurt, and it drew blood. And just to state, I'm alright. Here's the bite. If you can see it, if it'll focus, come on. Oh, always with anything right in front of the lens. Unless it's a photo, come on. Focus, please. Like that. Okay, well, you can see it well enough. Oh, maybe. Well, you can see the scar. Tiny thing, but it hurt, and it drew blood. Blood pooled up. And so the snake ended up slithering back into the woods, thankfully. But I decided to call 911 for paramedics to assess the bite. Not because I was worried that predominantly not because I was worried it was venomous, because to my knowledge at that point there were no venomous snakes in Quebec, Canada, or there's very few at the very least. There are some venomous types of snakes in Canada, but not many. But also in case of a potential infection, or a viral infection or bacterial if the snake was ill. So I did that. I didn't want to, but I did. Because I also didn't have any immediate facilities to clean the wound. And again, I just thought if they were to take me to the hospital close by, maybe someone who had more expertise on animal bites, a doctor who might have more expertise in that range of zoology, would be able to assess if there might be a potential issue. And I tried relocating the snake and grabbing it. I couldn't find it. For if they needed to know what kind it was and see it. But no, that didn't work out. But anyway, long story short, I left my belongings here, Cardi B, tied. I left them locked up somewhere in the woods. Went with the paramedics who cleaned off the wound to the hospital close to the downtown area in Old Town Lévis. That's either... No, it's in the district of Desjardins, I believe. Which, yes, Desjardins, the banking company / insurance company, their corporate headquarters is here. And I don't think the district's named after them. I think they're named after the district. But I'll have to find that out. But anyway, went to the hospital, had some conversation with the paramedics, and then immediately when I got in, the intake medic just said, yeah, you can go. There's no point waiting here. The doctor is not going to do anything. We can't assess if there could be any potential hazards with the snake bite. Most likely not. There are no venomous snakes in Quebec, and it's been cleaned. It's healing up, as you can see, and you're just going to be waiting here in the emergency room for 8 hours for them to tell you you're fine. And I was not disputing any of this. It really was a stupid idea for me to just go with the paramedics anyway. I didn't put up any sort of protest, I agreed, but I did ask, is there any way to maybe just do a quick blood test, just in case there could be a potential infection? They just said, no, sorry, it wouldn't be worth it. And again, it'd take a while to process. Because I relayed my current lifestyle to the paramedics, and I agree with them on this 100%. My immune system is very healthy, very clearly, very strong. You will be fine. And I was completely in agreement. So it was completely pointless for me to go all the way down there in the ambulance. So what ended up happening was I left the hospital literally within 4 minutes of having arrived, and I thought, well, I'm here now. My belongings, I'm almost towards the entire opposite end of the city, in closer to the eastern end. Let's start walking all the way back to the western end, to Saint Redempteur. But while I did that, I walked along the northern shore, the entirety of it, and I could see across the St. Lawrence River to downtown Quebec City. I could see the famous Chateau Hotel, owned up by Fairmount, or well, not, I don't know if they own it, but operated at the very least by Fairmount, the mega corporate entity, hotel operations entity that operated the Chateau in Montebello that I snuck onto. So, that'll also be for me to explore once I get over into Quebec City next year. But anyway, so I'm not going to talk much about that here, but it was incredible. And I got as far in one day as far as Charney, and I made my way into the park late at night and thought I'd attempt to cross over a suspension bridge back into the western half of the city to my belongings that night, but it was dark, the path was not lit, and I was tired, and I was like, fuck it. I'm not doing that. And I had no sleeping gear. And it's now mid-autumn. It's cold. And I attempted to sleep under a bush in the park with just my new jackets and my pillow that I've been carrying in my backpack. It was cold, freezing, barely slept. It got to a point where I couldn't take it in the night, and I was shivering like mad. So I walked back into the urban area of Charney to try and find either any sort of bank branch so that I could sleep inside the ATM, sectioned off ATM areas that are open to the public for the night, or at the very least find some sort of exhaust vent at the side of a house or the side of a building structure of any kind that was dispersing a lot of steam, a lot of heat, so that I could stay there for the night. What I ended up doing was, because I couldn't find either of those, or in terms of the exhaust vents, any that were sufficient, I ended up sleeping on the porch of a small business bar that was closed for the night. Thankfully, they had a seating area that was open to where you could access it by walking up some little stairs onto the porch, but was also walled off via glass windows, so that there was some protection from the harsh winds, the cold winds. And I slept on the hard wooden surface for the night, and that was on the 8th, and I got a minimal amount of REM sleep, sadly. But, well, woke up early the next day on the 9th on Canadian Thanksgiving. And thankfully, because it was Canadian Thanksgiving, many businesses, well, for me, yes, many businesses were closed for the holiday, but thankfully the bar was closed. No one, and if there was anyone living in the upper area of it, because it was a converted housing unit, well, no one knew I was there. So I left. And there was a restaurant in the area that was open that I ate at, stayed there for the morning, and another story for another time, but somebody paid for my meal, which I haven't had happen, well, in terms of me not really interacting with the person much in any way. I haven't had happen since Gatineau, all the way back when. And also, I interacted with these people, the person who gave me a ride into the village of Montebello, Quebec. They paid for my meal that I had with them, but, well, other than that. So, that happened, and then I finally walked through the park here, the Charney end, across the suspension bridge, a famous suspension bridge that's over a famous river that runs through the city of Lévis here, called River Chidari, I believe is how you pronounce it, or Chidari River. I'll have to find out the proper pronunciation in Quebecois French, or in my southern white Ontarian vernacular. But so I walked across the bridge and made it back here. And yesterday, having done that, because it's now the 10th, I came to notice a problem. So my things are here in the portion of the park that's in Saint Redempteur. Ridiculously enough, this is infuriating. There is no way on foot to get to the central areas of the city from the western portion here via walking, other than this suspension bridge. I mean it. I've scoured Google Maps. The only other way across this river that ends up connecting into the St. Lawrence is going onto the Trans-Canada Highway that runs through, that runs over a bridge system into that portion of the city, or walking all the way out of Lévis, out into the countryside, to the town of Saint-Lambert-de-Lauzon, Quebec, and crossing over a small vehicle bridge there. And that is quite a ways outside of the city, south of the city. Those are literally the only two ways. By vehicle, and in terms of this bridge and the bridge out in that town, those are the only two ways by foot. There's literally no other. There's no other bridge. There's literally no other bridge that was built by the municipal government and its private lobbyists for the private land that is in between, on this side of the river, on the western end and the central end. Nothing has been constructed. I'm not for systematic regulation of construction, but it's clear that they don't give two damns about the residents of their city, if that's the case. And yes, this is a highly tourist advertised area, advertised by the tourism industry. They make mass profit off of it. This is, as I said, a rather famous suspension bridge overlooking rather famous waterfall, human constructed waterfall called Chideri Falls, after the river. So that's some nonsense that I have to deal with now. So what I'm going to try and do, I tried somewhat doing this yesterday, but it got too late and I was tired, and I ended up setting up camp in the park for the night and sleeping. And I slept much better last night than I did the night before. I'm going to try going back to the parking lot area of this portion of the park, seeing if there's any pickup truck drivers, and asking them kindly, could you please take some time out of your day, or if you're coming from the central areas of Lévis, can you please take me and my things just over into that side? It doesn't matter where, just drop me in Charney. Just the closest possible point in the central area, just on that side. That's all where I need to get to, because there's no other way for me to get across other than that suspension bridge. Or if that doesn't work, I'm going to call a towing service. I'm going to call a tow truck out here. Similar to what I had done whilst living in Crow's Landing, Ontario over, well, now 2 summers ago. For, well, Timmy, my old motorized bicycle, Trudy, my old electric golf cart. I'm going to do that. And I'm going to explain the situation to them. I hope they're understanding and don't think it's completely ridiculous. And even if they do, I'm going to tell them, please, I don't have any other means of getting it across. Now, you might be asking, well, Cam, can't... So, the suspension bridge is wide, and it can clearly hold a lot of people. So, wait, Cam, if it can hold a lot of... If you're asking this, Cam, if it can hold a lot of people, why can't you just wheel Cardi B across, well, the bridge? Should be fine. Suspension bridge might be a little wobbly. It might be a little scary being above the rapids and the rocks with a very far drop, many feet to the river base, but it'll be fine. Well, if you're asking that, no, I can't, because it's not just the bridge that's there. Going down from here to get to the bridge, which I can see from here, I'll showcase it slightly in a second. To get to it through the woods on both sides, you have to, from the western end here, go down a very steep slope of the concrete path that has bars at certain points across it. That it's a very, 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 it's a very slanted incline. And as I've said, from what I've seen, it's heavily trafficked by walkers and bikers. And the same goes for on the opposite end in the Charney district. There's not a concrete slope, there's a wooden downward slope, or from the ground upwards slope of a wooden platform, a ramp that you have to walk up to get to the suspension bridge. Now, if it was summer and a dry day in summer where it hadn't rained, there hadn't been a lot of precipitation, I would try that. And if there wasn't a lot of foot traffic or bike traffic, I would try that. But I am not going to do that for this, because one, morally, okay, well, yes, all morally, to put it simply, it'll endanger myself and it'll endanger everyone else around me, because I will have to pack Cardi B up, wheel them holding on to their handle and their frame, desperately inching them along, slipping with my very much shabby boots now down this hill. In summer, when it's dry, if there wasn't a lot of traffic that on a certain day going up and down those two slopes, I would attempt it, maybe. But it's wet out. It's been wet because of the rain, and there's wet leaves all across the ramps, the ramp and the concrete path. I'm not going to do that. Cardi B will go tumbling down, smash into someone. It'll hurt someone or kill them. Or I will hurt myself. Or both will happen. And I'll go tumbling down. So, can't do that. Or I can, but I won't do that. So, I'm going to have to try and get a pickup driver or a towing agency to come out over here and take me across. And so, yeah, there's that. Now, for the coming winter months, well, my living situation, what am I going to do, you might be asking? Well, as I've said, because my finances are running the lowest they ever have now, I have about, in total, close to $3,000 left in total. I'm going to be trying to gain a small in-person job. Now, I will be making a small portion now with the traction I've been gaining on Pornhub from Pornhub, a dirt cheap amount. I think by this point, they owe me in total for when the payment rollout happens. They owe me maybe $8. So there's that, and that's not why I do the work anyway. It's not why I do any work anyway. It's not specifically for money, but for resource gaining, I will need an amount more, not just for the winter, but for continuing my travels through Quebec City next spring, and then through next year, hopefully making my way through the countryside again up to Labrador City. So I will be searching for an in-person job. But with that, because of my living situation and my moral ideologies, I will have conditions from my employers. And so I'll address this. In a video I made in Ottawa when I was living there, titled, "Dear Kids, You Won't Know How Oppressed You Are Until You Actively Push Against It, Then You'll See," I addressed that I will no longer be working for any mega corporate, or even try not to work for any moderate corporations. I've now decided I'm not even try not to work for moderate corporations, even though me being a situationalist, well, as of right now, I am not at all going towards any moderate corporations at all. And I absolutely will not work for mega corporate branches of any kind. Not at all. Never again. It will all be small businesses that are not heavily expansionist. And in that regard, gentrifying. But, so, there's that. But for whatever business employs me, I'm going to give my employers two options. And in order for me to work for them, they're going to have to follow the basic criteria of whichever option they pick. Otherwise, I will not work for them. And I want to be negotiable, obviously, with me working for them with these choices, these options that I'm going to provide them. I want to be flexible with their situations, their financial positions, and any issues that they have. I want to be reasonable. Utilize collectivism, obviously. But in this regard, in the oppressive economic system that we're in, and my position and the power disparity that they hold over me as an employer, well, I have these conditions, and there will be non-negotiables in these two options. So, those two options, in those two options, there's at least, there's 4 non-negotiables. One, the major one, is if I work for you, you provide me housing. And that's a non-negotiable. And that housing either comes in the form of me sleeping in the facilities of the establishment, whatever, in your rental space, or if you own the entirety of the space, hell, if you own the land, the plot of land that your business facilities structure is on, I either sleep in the facilities, I bunk with you, I stay with either you, the employers, or hell, an employee that also works for you. I stay in their housing unit for the time that I'm here and working for you. Or at the very least, I set up camp with my tent and my wagon and everything on your property, at the very least, or you allow me to sleep on the roof of your establishment if it's equipped for me to do so. And if I'm sleeping on your property, I will be sleeping next to any sort of exhaust that you have. Granted that I check out and I ask and inquire about the sanitary conditions or the maintenance conditions of said exhaust in case of any rust, pollutants, or anything like that. But regardless, that's a non-negotiable. So if I work for you, if I work for the employer, whoever they are, you're providing me housing. And the second non-negotiable is you're paying me a minimum of either $17 an hour or $16.80 an hour. And I'm not going lower than $16.80. $16.80 an hour. I'm not going lower than that. I think the minimum wage in Quebec as of right now is $14 an hour. I'm a bit iffy on that. I'll have to relook. But regardless, whether or not it is or isn't, that's what I'll be paid as a minimum. Another non-negotiable is you put me on at least 5 days a week as a shift. So, yeah, that's a non-negotiable. So, okay, so those are the main non-negotiables. I know I said 4, but one's kind of flexible. So let me explain these two options. So the first option is all mentioned before, the non-negotiables. But in that, the first option is you provide me housing rent-free. You charge me no rent, which I will advocate for more of that option for, one, my ideologies, my ideals, my moral values. You charge me no rent fee of any kind for housing with you. And in return for that, you put me on 5 days a week, 3 days. For the first 3 days, you put me on a minimum of 5 hours for those first 3 days, but you only have to pay me for the first 3 hours, all 3 of those days. The next 2 hours, I will work completely for free. And then the other 2 days, you don't have to pay me at all. I will work completely for free. And you also, in that regard, you don't have to provide me any extra amenities other than housing. You don't have to provide me any food, any beverages, other than water, obviously. You don't even have to provide me a showering station. If you don't want, I will go find somewhere else to shower, as I have before. You don't have to provide me that. The only hygienics you need to provide me is just a place to use the washroom, wash in terms of toilet use and washing my hands. That's it. And brushing my teeth. That's it. So that's the first option. You pay me the amount I said, $17 or $16.80. You put me on 5 days a week. Only pay me for the first 3 hours of those first 3 days, and then the next 2 hours I work for free, and then the other 2 days I work completely for free. That's option 1. The second option is, I've had to sadly, I'll address this in a minute, revise some of my moral stances from before. Some might have been more unrealistic, sadly. But option 2 is you provide me housing, you do charge me a rent fee, you do charge me rent, but you are paying me $17 an hour or $16.80, and I will not go higher than $70 a month for rent fees. I won't go higher than $70. That's final for me. And if you do decide to charge me rent, you will have to provide me amenities. such as food and other beverages if I ask for said things, other than water, which I most likely won't. But either way, you have to provide me food and drink, and you have to provide me a bathing station, showering of some kind. And as well as that, if you charge me rent, I will not work any days for free. I won't, and you put me on a minimum of 5 days a week for a minimum of each of those days of 5 hours. And I will not work a single day or a single hour of those for free. You will be paying me for all of them. For those first 3 days, I will work 5 hours. You will pay me $17 or $16.80 an hour. And those other 2 days, again, 5 hours, you'll pay me for all of them. So, that's option 1 and that's option 2. And so for option 1, in regards to those 2 days that I'll be working for free, I will let my employers decide however many hours they put me on. It's completely up to them in that regard. I'll leave it to them. So, and yes, as I said, there will have to be room for flexibility. I want to be negotiable. But if they aren't able to meet the basic criteria of those 2 options, I'm not working for them. So, yeah, that's that. And now I will have said in the first couple of videos I made when I was in Montreal, Quebec, the Some Days Optimism Feels Psychotic video, and we aren't ever going to abolish these dictatorly systems unless we go against them in mass. Video said that I would not pay rent ever again, that I would not pay any amount of fee charged for living anywhere. Well, sadly for my survival, even whilst being an anarcho-maximalist, that was more unrealistic than I had sadly thought at the time. But in compensating for that, well, these 2 options will be compensating for it. So, sad, I've changed my mind on that, sadly, for now. I would like to... Now, in this regard, though, why I've chosen the specific pay is, well, because of, my expenses, but also for payment to me, it'll put them in I guess the employers, whoever my employers are, in a bit of a precarious situation if they want to employ me, because you might think, well, any employer who's a capitalist-abiding, morally corrupt person, well, any private employer will want to choose option 2, right? That seems like a much more desirable option to pick for employer over employee hierarchy, right? Well, wrong, actually, because I did calculations for this, despite my dyscalculia. I calculated this, and I did it multiple times, and if my calculations are correct, please correct me if they're wrong, but if you add all the time plus the payment up, and me working for free and not being charged rent for option 1, or not working for free at all and being charged $70 a month for the second option, well, actually, my employers will come out with far less money, actually, for paying me. They will come out with far less money in their paychecks are going towards maintaining their facilities if they choose option 2, actually, if they do decide to charge me rent. Because think about this. Well, they're paying me $17 an hour, or $16.80 an hour. And for option 1, they're only charging me for 3 hours of 3 days. So, what? That's roughly maybe about around $80 a day, or maybe between $60 $80 a day, and in total for a week each. So per week, say roughly in between 70 again, over 100. Sorry, I'm not good with the math at the moment, with the mathematics. Over 100, obviously. And then those 100 for 4 weeks, a month, then times how many months I'll be here and working for them, yada yada yada. Well, if they did that for option 1, from what I've calculated, I would come out with over, in a month, over, minus minor expenses of mine, a small amount of billing that I'm paying, phone use, banking, things like that, I'll still come out with $1,000. Still come out, like, well, no, wait. No. Oh, sorry, no. See, there, dyscalculic effects there. No, so I'll come out with around $600 or so with option 1. $600 per month, over $600. For option 2, I will come out with over $1,000 per month, if they do charge me $70 a month, plus my other minor billing expenses. Minor. I will come out with over $1,000. Now, you could factor in income tax to that in February for filing tax returns. I will sadly be trying to pay those. If I could get out of that, find a way to, I will commit tax evasion. But sadly, right now, that doesn't seem like it's going to be a viable option. But anyway, so regardless, I will come out with more money as an employee if they do charge me rent with the second option than if they don't with the first one. And I'll tell that to them, and they can still pick. So yeah, there's that. Now, anyway, okay, that's what'll be happening here in the Viz. Now, I'm going to quickly address the footage that you will have seen, some amount of the footage before this little portion. So, in the town of Saint Agapit, or in Quebecian vernacular, Saint Agape, I attended a rodeo. Well, I didn't attend a rodeo. Tried to, before knowing this. But watched a rodeo, was able to, from the sidelines. That was highly abusive, emotionally and physically abusive, towards the animals, the cows that were being used in the show. And I took footage of that. And whilst I was taking footage, I was promptly shooed away by who I'm assuming was one of the organizers for the rodeo. I was promptly ushered away from a visible area of the indoor show, saying, nope, go, get out of here. You might be asking why I did that. So the world could see. Now, I'm going to address this and the other things I'll address quickly here in another video. Probably the next one. that I make. For any of you out there who are saying, Cam, this is problematically hypocritical of you morally, even though I am an anarcho-maximalist and an ethical situationalist, but this is disgraceful of you. This is terrible. Why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you try to stop them? Why didn't you dive into the pens and wrestle the people hurting the animals? Why didn't you do that, or why didn't you speak up? For everything but the speak up part, you are an absolute idiot. You're an unrealistic moron. That show was one of the most horrible things I've seen. And I'm going to state here, I'm not condemning the entirety of rodeo culture for rural North American culture and an amount of rural southwestern European culture. I don't think a rodeo inherently is detrimental to animal health with certain practices, operating more like a circus, but these practices were in relation to hog tying the cows and whipping them with a cane. But in regards to this, to anyone who's of that mindset, I couldn't have done anything without it completely failing. 1, that rodeo was a regulated event legally. It was a highly advertised rodeo for the town. It was advertised all about, come to the rodeo at this from between October 6th to October 8th. All fun for the whole family. It was advertised by the municipal government. All its corporate lobbyists, as you will see, Desjardins, most prominent one, sponsoring the event, providing payment for funding any equipment, utilizing the facilities on the private land, yada yada yada. It was a very much regulated event. If I called the police and reported the animal abuse, they would have been on the side of the rodeo. They would have been on the side of them. The municipal police, I don't even think they had a municipal police department. The QPP, they would have been on their side. In fact, they would have told me, get out of here, you're causing a disrupt. No, they're not violating any, and I know in relation to animal abuse laws how it's set up so that they can get away with the emotional abuse and the physical abuse, any abuse that they don't see, say for the hog tying events with the lassoing of the cows. Well, it's determined that it's not physically harmful for them. They're light. They don't cause any, they're not dragging the cows around. They just quickly hog tie them, round them up, or push them a bit. It's fine. It's not majorly physically harmful. That they consider it fine, and they don't care about emotional abuse of the animals. For non-livestock, stuff that I would consider problematic emotional abuse, and as far as I'm concerned, no, cooking animals in relation to what we have now is not inherently extensively abusive. That's a whole nother ethical dilemma. But anyway, they would have been on their side. They would have told me, get lost. 2, for me physically charging in there, grabbing the cane from the attendant, the attendant, the worker that was in charge of keeping care of the cows with the cane that you will have seen. Why didn't I run up and grab the cane? Because most likely they would have tackled me to the ground. They would have grabbed me, thrown me to the ground, thrown me out of the pen. If they didn't do it themselves, and the security, because they had security, the operators, anyone who was an employee, or hell, maybe even attendants of the event, would have grabbed me, wrestled me down, gotten me off the attendant, grabbed the cane out of my hand. They would have thrown me off the facilities. They would have. And also, being a pacifist, I don't want to do that. And I'm not going to do that. I don't feel that's ethically right of me. And as for what I've been trying to practice, telling people how morally disgusting they are, not physically getting into a confrontation, but being sure to tell people how morally abhorrent they are. Why didn't I do that? Because I did have a brief conversation with the organizer as they shooed me away. Well, because I think I should have, yes. But in the moment I froze because I don't know the language. I could tell them that I don't speak Quebecois French. Most likely there are those who averagely know an amount of standardized Canadian English. Could speak well enough. But it would have been very choppy and we would have gotten cut off because with how the organizers were, very dismissive, very obviously morally disrupted, sociopathic, very emotionally devoid, the main organizer, they would have just shooed me off again. And I felt disgusted. So to address that, so in regards to that, it's why I filmed it. And for something that I said, for a topic I discussed in Exploring Montreal Part 10, in relation to me filming conversations of mine with people secretively, without their knowledge, sadly without their consent. That is why, nothing has ever reaffirmed me doing that more than that. I am glad that I filmed that for people to see. It was the rodeo. I don't remember the specific name of the rodeo event, but it was a majorly advertised rodeo that happened this year in 2023 in October, early October, that was organized and operated in the town of St. Agapit, Quebec, Canada. If you're comfortable acting like that, then without being filmed, then you should be comfortable acting like that on camera. If you're not, well, either way, you're morally corrupt as far as I'm concerned. You're morally terrible. But, well, it obviously shows who you are, one way or another. Whether you're more covert, wanting to be more covert, or you're blatant with your unethical behavior. So there's that. And to address something else. So I will have typed in this video for the person who picked me up whilst I was hitchhiking out of St. Hyacinthe who drove me into Drummondville. Yes, they invited me into their home. They let me have a shower. And they gave me a whole supply of free food, free of charge. And we sat and talked for a long while for the evening in their apartment. And that was very generous of them. I did not ask them for that. Didn't say, hey, if possible, could I come in for a shower? Do you have any extra food you could give me? No. They just gave it. They offered up out of the blue without me inquiring. But I'll talk more about that later. And there was one more thing, pretty sure. Oh yes, having gotten a new sleeping bag that's suited for freezing temperatures, at least as freezing according to instructions, as sustainable as for anyone sleeping in it for as cold as -12 degrees Celsius, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but freezing cold. Along with that, for my tent, I'm going to be trying to purchase a small space heater, maybe an electrical space heater that's battery powered, not, you don't need to plug it in, for the coming winter months, if I'm not able to be in any sort of housing for that time. Now, I tried purchasing that in Victoriaville, but tried finding a place that had space heaters, but that didn't work out. And for that, for some safety, because you might be thinking, well, that might be very dangerous, Cam, if it was to fall over in your sleep. Could potentially catch fire, cause your tent to catch fire. Be put out rather quickly, the fire, because of the blustering winds and snowfall and ice, but regardless, could cause third-degree burns, if it was to burn me. Well, I'm going to try so I have a piece of sheet metal that I found whilst hitchhiking, trying to get to Le Chute, Quebec, coming out of the town of Grenville, Quebec, a while back. And I had been using that at points to prop my fire bucket up on, so that I didn't burn the ground beneath me with the heat from the burning wood in the bucket, with my cooking wok over top of it, if I was on any fresh grass that could catch fire. I've been using it for that. Well, I'm going to if I get a space heater, I'm going to place it on that, but I'm also going to try and find any small business welders of any kind who may have extra sheet metal, or maybe try and find extra sheet metal for myself, find at least 3 more pieces and ask them, hey, could you please weld these sides together using the sheet metal I have now as a base, plate, and make these problematic calculations again, 4 pieces of sheet metal to make 4 walls that are attached to this metal base, and just leave the top open, so that I could place this small space heater on its back into this little sheet metal box, and turn it on its back and place it in my tent in the night, so that the metal doesn't heat up and cause the tent to potentially burn, and so that it just disperses heat into the tent in the night whilst I'm in my sleeping bags. So there's that. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Okay. It's getting dark. So let me just show you my new attire, and then try and get my belongings into the central area of the city. Okay, so shit. I just remembered one more thing I need to address, and it's a crucial thing that I need to go into detail about before this video ends. So I'm going to do that after I showcase my new attire. So, here. Yeah, these are my 2 new jackets. My main jackets. I know I've been wearing, so the ones I had before, since leaving Toronto, were gray rain jacket and my blue hoodie, which I've worn sporadically throughout my videos. But I got this somewhat of a short trench coat, I guess, slightly trench coat-like design jacket, and this vest underneath in Drummondville at a second-hand clothing store. And this shirt, this sort of mini V-neck, this was gifted to me also by the person who picked me up and took me to Drummondville and gave me the food and the shower. They gave me this as a gift. And these pants are just the same black jeans that I've had for a long while. But, yeah. And they're very warm. These are a lot warmer than... Fuck. Shouldn't have stood on this curb and did that. These are a lot warmer than the other jacket and sweater. I also, whilst in Victoriaville, as I said, bought some more clothes. I bought some more jeans and some sweaters and general things of the sort. Again, from a small business clothing retailer. I also bought new gloves, because surprise, surprise, gloves I had whilst living in Ottawa last winter, well, somewhere along my journey to here, I lost them. I have no clue what happened to them. And they've come in handy very much, not just for keeping my hands warm with the colder weather, but also for handling some of my more grimy equipment, especially Cardi B's tire locks. So yeah, and I'm just going to address this because you'll see it in a bit. As for my boots, which I've had since Pro's Landing, Ontario, well, you might have noticed at points, I don't know how often it was shown in previous videos, the leather at the back end of my right foot boot was starting to tear, and quite literally by this point, since leaving Longueuil, the back end became so worn that you could see the back of my sock and my foot in it. So at some point along my trip from Longueuil to Lévis, I bought duct tape, not specifically for this, for other uses, but I decided to makeshift create sort of a brace for my boots, taping up the entire back end here, and I'd initially just put the tape, patched it on at the back end here, but it was starting to peel off as I walked, starting to just wear its stick. So I then wrapped a whole slew of it around the front, and then came back around to the rear end of it, and stuck it together, again to act as just sort of a brace for it, to secure it, and then put a bunch of tape straps down at the front to hold those brace acting tape strips in place. And it's been working like a charm, at least for now. So, yeah. I guess I'll just showcase this so you can get a better view of the vest. Not just for usage of it, but in terms of aesthetic, I very much like it. Both of them. Embracing a bit more of my English and Irish cultural roots in that regard. As far as I'm concerned, non-problematic cultural roots in that fashion. No pun intended, but they and then just this, okay, that's what I want to do anyway. This new short sleeve, which again, I'm very, very thankful for this. So, yeah, is that now? Let's walk back to my campsite. I'll address the other crucial thing for this video. Yep, it's the next day. Got too late, and I got preoccupied with other things. Tried to go charge my phone. It didn't end up happening, so decided to go to sleep for the night. But anyway, so to address what the crucial thing was that I want to talk about in this video was, well, let me explain it, because there'll be some footage at the end of the video here that details this, my actual interaction with this event. So, when I was in St. Hyacinthe, Quebec, I was there for a period of about a week and a half, and I explored most of the city whilst I was there. Went venturing all around, walking. But on about the, I'm counting in my head, I believe it would be my third day there. On my third day in the city of St. Hyacinthe, when I went to the downtown area, I was walking along in close by to the main marketplace. They have a rather well-known or touristed public market that's set up in the center area. And whilst I was going along one of the streets, I look to my left at this small intersection, and I see a small business restaurant. And I see the name and their little logo design. And all of a sudden, I just froze in disbelief at its name and the logo, because I recognize both. So the name of the restaurant was Dame Tartine, And their logo was of a 2D drawn, sketched and watercolor painted, I think is what they were going for. More feminine presenting person in design, with a skirt, a long Western European style skirt, little hat, a little bowl type hat, holding just a coffee platter, I believe. And you might be wondering, well, okay, Cam, so you recognize the place, you've seen some of their locations before, why does this matter? Well, actually, no, I had never seen their locations before, because this restaurant branch, well, it's a small business. Apparently, they used to have at least 5 locations across the province, but now there's only, I believe there's only 3 left in total. One of them being in St. Hyacinthe, and another being in Montreal. And why this is so significant is because when I saw their name and logo, I was immediately given flashbacks to House 265, Boulevard St. Rose, Laval, Quebec. The burnt, abandoned house that I explored, / former restaurant that I had explored when I was in the city of Laval, which was the main bit of content for my video Exploring Laval Part 1. And so, if you're catching on to this, the significance is that's the restaurant. It was the same restaurant chain that was, well, the business that was in operation in the burnt abandoned house 265, address 265, St. Rose Boulevard. And I got, once I saw this, I quickly got into a Wi-Fi spot to go back and look through my video to check if that logo and the name had been on certain burnt or partially destroyed and singed decor and equipment that was in the house that I went through, and it was. And you won't, as usual, go watch that video for further context, or go to the community tab for a post that's visible that I made about House 265. If you know what happened when I explored the house, I found taxation documents in what seemed to have been the main dining area of the facility that very much stood out because they were completely unburnt. They were not destroyed in the slightest, other than maybe some water damage, some wrinkling from water that had seeped through the floorboards or things of the sort. That was the only bit of damage. And rifling through it, and then going into the upstairs of the house and finding more taxation documents and receipts, there was very clear evidence of potential insurance fraud. And I feel so, and when I saw the restaurant, one of their branches in St. Hyacinthe, and confirmed that it was definitely the same restaurateur company that owned and operated inside of that house, I smacked myself over the head. I don't recall if I actually did that or speaking just metaphorically, but I felt so stupid because I saw that logo. You can see it in the video. I saw their logo. What was left behind, abandoned in the burnt house, and I saw their name, Dame Tartine, in the documents on some notepads, and looking back on some burnt menus, burnt laminated menus in the actual house. You could faintly see the name Dame Tartine on it, and I must not have paid close enough attention to that, because I never put two and two together that was the name of the former restaurant. I never put two and two. I knew it was the feminine person, the cutout, the board cutout, was their logo clearly, but I never put two and two together that was their name. I thought at first, because lesser knowledge of Quebecois French, I thought the name was Déjeuner Diner, which, no, as I said, correction, that means breakfast and dinner. That was not the name of the restaurant. So, but anyway, so I never put two and two together. I never put that together. And for my whole time in Laval, I was trying to do what I could whilst exploring around the rest of the city to try and further investigate the house. What I could with online research, or even gathering some amount of trying to find evidence of what could have possibly happened in the local areas. But along with my other social investigations there in the city of Laval, I never ended up finding any concrete resolution to it. It just remained a mystery to be solved. And because I also, in the documents, I said this in, I believe, one of my last Exploring Laval videos, there were phone numbers scattered throughout them. And when I was in the western half of Laval, I did end up trying to call some of those numbers via payphone. And almost all of them were disconnected, but one of them wasn't. And, well, it just went straight to an answering machine and I didn't leave a message. But, anyway, so when I left Laval, I concluded that'll just have to be a mystery for someone else to solve, or a mystery to just be left, well, unattended for now, by me. But then I get to St. Hyacinthe months later, and there it is, Dame Tartine. And I looked up further before going in there. I looked up further I typed in the name Dame Tartine to see how many restaurant locations they might have had. And all I could find was one in St. Hyacinthe and one in Montreal. And apparently, their location in Montreal was right by the connecting bridge, the Jacques Cartier connecting bridge, that I took to get out of Montreal and into Longueuil, Quebec, that I walked across. It was right by there. And I was basically just 2 blocks away from this other location of theirs. Just 2 blocks away. And I passed them. And so, a day before, or I decided to wait to go inside the restaurant because I didn't want to draw unnecessary attention to myself for what more investigations now that I was going to try and do, because I told myself there's no way I'm leaving this city without inquiring further into this. No way. So I went in and ate there the day before I left St. Hyacinth, and they had very good, very well made, authentic Quebecois food. It was incredibly good cuisine that they had. But regardless, that wasn't gonna dissuade my decision to try and pursue my inquiry. So I asked one of the servers if the manager or the owners were there at that time, so that I might be able to talk to them. And they didn't speak much English, so I ended up talking to one of the cooks, and they told me that no, unfortunately, one of the two owners isn't here right now, but they'll be here tomorrow. So I told them, could you tell them that a person named Cam is coming by just to speak to them? And they asked, well, is it for a job? What is it for? And I said, I'd just like to inquire with them about something. They said, all right, and they gave me their name. So the next day I got all my things packed in Cardi to leave the city that day. But first I was going to go and talk to one of the owners. So I went back there, and I did end up speaking with them. And I asked them a bit about you'll hear in the audio that I took, I asked them about like the restaurant chain. I noticed their name and a bit about the actual restaurant company itself, and they told me about how they used to have 5 locations, but there was an issue with one of them in Grenby, and then there was a fire in one in Laval, their location in Laval, and they said, so now we're just we're 3. So at least, yeah, it was 3. Yeah, okay, well, I'm pretty sure they said 3. Okay, well, either way. And I told them, well, actually, the Laval fire incident is what I'm inquiring about. And they just said, well, I'm just one of the owners. My girlfriend is the main CEO, obviously, of our chain. And she operates the one in Montreal. And they couldn't give me any information more on the fire that happened because they didn't know, they said. And given from what I psychoanalyzed to them, I'm not sure if they were more lying or not. It seems like to some degree they didn't know, genuinely know. Maybe they did and they just weren't telling, but because they did end up saying like, I'm not sure of the nature of your question, like why are you just questioning this? Why are you asking about this? And I just said, oh, well, just a social observer and scientist who's curious. And so, sadly, I left the restaurant after having talked to them, and not much was gained from it. I said it was rather anticlimactic afterwards. But, regardless, I'm still happy that I was able to even being away from Laval, further get a bit more insight into, well, a bit more about the actual restaurant. Now, there are still many questions left unanswered, but either way, that's what ended up happening. I thought that was a noteworthy event, and as you'll hear in the clip that I took whilst speaking to one of the owners in the St. Hyacinthe branch, well, you'll hear our conversation and how it went, and it's a noteworthy thing, I feel, considering that was one of my first major sociological investigations in terms of being in Laval, Quebec. So, yeah, that'll be in clips after this. So, that was this video. I'm in Lévis, Quebec. Lévis, Quebec. Now for the winter months, and yeah, so stay tuned for whatever's next. Holy shit, no way. It can't be. Je ne sais pas français, québécois, c'est pas anglais. Le français, québécois, c'est pas anglais. C'est bon, Eric. Oui.
Il va venir te voir. Il va venir te voir.
Ah.
Salut.
Bonjour.
C'est toi. C'est toi? Eric?
Eric, yes, are you Eric?
Okay, you speak English.
Ah, yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have asked before.
What do you want to see?
Oh, well, I'd just like a few minutes of your time, if
Okay.
you don't mind.
Can I get a few minutes?
Okay.
What's on?
I'm not here to inquire about a job. I actually happen to be a social researcher and a neuroscientist.
Okay. For who?
Oh, just private, myself, self-employed.
Okay.
And
you're living in Quebec?
Oh, right now I've been staying in St. Hyacinthe.
Okay, where are you coming from?
Well, I've traveled through quite a few areas of the southern half.
Yeah, where are you coming from?
Initially Toronto,
Okay.
where I originally lived.
Okay.
But I happened to notice the name of your restaurant when I came through here.
And that's it?
Yes, the Cantine.
This is a cantine from France.
Oh.
Yeah, and there's a restaurant in Paris who had the same name. So my girlfriend liked the name, so she took it.
Oh. And you two have two branches, correct?
There's one in Montreal,
we were 5, but now there's a fire at Laval. Problem at Granby because he changed place. He was in Beaumont and then he came to Granby after that. But the guy closed the restaurant, and the other one, something else, I don't know. They were another place in Quebec, Chambly.
Oh. Well, actually, it was the Laval branch that I was curious to talk about.
Yeah.
Because I was in northern Laval a few months ago.
Okay.
And in St. Rose.
Yeah, that's it.
It was House 265 St. Rose Boulevard.
Oh, I don't know the address, but I know it was on St. Rose. Yeah.
I was a little more curious as to know what exactly happened, because I tried asking the local area as to...
I heard that there was some people who threw a cocktail Molotov in the windows.
Oh.
And there was a fire, but I don't know anything because we're a branch apart, you know.
Ah.
I know it's Claudette who operated, but I don't know what happened exactly.
Yeah. I had heard as well that in various areas of Laval, some restaurants had actually been getting amounts of arson from the Molotov cocktails.
But I don't know what's the purpose of your question.
Oh, I just wondered if you might have any more information on it, as I wasn't expecting to actually find a...
No, there's nothing else to say. Maybe you can ask in Montreal, the one on Ontario, she's the one who started the brand.
Ah.
That's it. So maybe you can ask her. Go on Ontario Street near Pont Jean Cartier.
Ah, yes.
On I think it's the lobby in Ontario. Her name is Sylvie Gagnon. Maybe you can ask her a question about it if you want to.
Okay.
I don't understand what is the purpose about that.
Sylvia?
Yeah, Sylvia.
Ah, okay.
Fine?
Oh yeah, well, that should be fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
You too.
If you need a job, we can see you.
Okay. Well, thank you. Merci beaucoup. Well, that was rather anticlimactic.